Part 2. Karma. My cheating girlfriend said I was just a phase too broke to ever satisfy her life. As mentioned earlier, when Braxton overheard Natalie confess she'd never marry just a mechanic, it shattered more than his heart. It exposed the quiet truth of who they really were to each other. On Sunday morning, my phone rang. It was Daisy. Of course it was. Her voice was warm in that overly practiced way, like a greeting card read out loud. She told me Natalie had been upset all weekend and asked what had happened between us. The way she phrased it, some kind of disagreement, told me everything I needed to know. Natalie had already framed the story to minimize damage, skipping the part where she casually dismissed me as unworthy in front of her mom and best friend. I asked Daisy plainly if Natalie had told her what she said on the FaceTime call. Daisy hesitated before saying Natalie told her I'd overheard something and misunderstood it. Right. The oldest trick in the book. Say something awful, get caught, then claim it was taken out of context. So I laid it out clearly. I told her I heard her daughter say she would never marry a mechanic, that I was just fun for now, that she didn't want to bring a grease monkey to her company events. I heard it from 10 feet away, word for word. Nothing to misinterpret. Daisy was silent for a few long seconds. Maybe shocked. Maybe calculating. Then she admitted she remembered the conversation. But she said she thought Natalie was speaking hypothetically. I didn't respond. Some silences speak louder than any argument. The call ended without a blow-up. No accusations, no raised voices. But I could feel something shifting. Like Daisy had finally caught a glimpse of her daughter through an unfiltered lens and didn't entirely like what she saw. That evening, Natalie showed up at my door. Hair done, makeup perfect, wearing a coat tailored within an inch of its life. She walked in like she still belonged there and immediately launched into her apology. She said she didn't mean what she said, that it came out wrong, that she was just trying to appease her mom's pressure about settling down. I listened, but I didn't move. Because the thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't looking for an apology or a clean resolution. What I wanted was already done. I had clarity. When she said what she said, she wasn't panicked. She wasn't cornered. She was calm, honest, comfortable. That's what made it real. I told her we were finished. She cried. I didn't. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because I had nothing left to fight for. The relationship I thought we had was already gone. What remained was just cleanup. Over the next few days, she started leaving handwritten notes under my door, dropping off flowers, showing up at the shop like we were still in the fix this phase. I told Jake, my only full-time guy, not to let her past the front office. I didn't care what she showed up with, cookies, tears, or an essay about redemption. She stayed in the lobby. Jake, bless him, took that job seriously. Then the emotional carrier pigeons showed up, her friends. Messages trickled in from people I barely knew, trying to guilt me back into the story. You're being so cold. She made one mistake. You're really going to throw this away. But none of them were there when she said it. None of them heard the truth when she thought she was in private. That's the part everyone kept ignoring. The part that mattered most. I wasn't upset. I wasn't bitter. I was just done being someone's safety net while they waited for someone better to show up. So I buried myself in work restoration projects, custom detailing, tracking down parts from the 60s and 70s. Things that could be fixed. Things that, once broken, still had value. Meanwhile, Natalie started reshaping the narrative. Telling anyone who would listen that I was being overly sensitive, that it was a misunderstanding, that I was blowing things out of proportion. That didn't bother me either. People always rewrite the story when they lose control of it. But stories like that only work if no one else was in the room. Then Chloe, one of Natalie's closest friends, decided to confront me in person. She came storming into my shop like it was her personal soap opera. You're being ridiculous, she said. Natalie loves you. I let her speak. gave her a full 3-minute stage for the emotional monologue. Then when she finally stopped, I calmly asked if she knew what Natalie said on that call. She didn't, so I told her, word for word. I watched her face change as I repeated it. Not out of spite, just honesty. She didn't try to defend Natalie after that. She just left looking rattled, like she hadn't signed up to be in a story with a real ending. The next day I got a call I didn't expect from Daisy. That woman never called without a holiday or dinner invite, so I answered out of pure curiosity. She started by saying she owed me an apology. That stopped me cold. She said she'd had a long talk with Natalie the night before. Apparently, Natalie had tried to blame everything on her, said Daisy had pressured her into looking for someone more professional. But Daisy pushed back. Said she never told Natalie to break up with me or to feel ashamed about what I did for a living. That alone was surprising, but Daisy wasn't done. She told me she'd been thinking a lot about her own attitude lately, about the way she'd treated me, or maybe more accurately judged me from day one. Then she said something I never expected to hear from a woman who once treated my shop like it was a roadside attraction. She'd done some research. She looked up motorcycle restoration, vintage bikes, collector markets, and realized it wasn't just turning wrenches and getting dirty. She admitted she had no idea how much skill was involved, how valuable the bikes could be, how deep the history ran. She said she'd been ignorant and dismissive. I didn't say much, mostly because I was stunned into silence. This was the same woman who once asked me during dinner if I had considered pivoting into something more scalable, but now she was admitting that she'd been wrong. And even more than that I'd always treated her family with respect despite how they'd treated me. She said Austin had been asking when I might come back for Sunday dinner, that he enjoyed talking to me about investments and current events. And while part of me wanted to scoff, another part remembered those dinners weird, overly formal, and sometimes tense, sure. But they were also human, consistent. They had started to feel normal, even comfortable, before things went sideways. Then she asked the big question. Would I consider coming back this Sunday? She promised Natalie wouldn't be there. She emphasized that twice, like it was a disclaimer. I told her I'd think about it, and I meant that. I wasn't ready to decide. But the conversation left an impression. Daisy had somehow done more emotional growth in 2 weeks than Natalie had done in 15 months. Then Wednesday happened. I came home from work to find Natalie at my apartment door. And not just Natalie, Daisy was standing behind her. It was the emotional ambush strategy. Professional outfits, nervous expressions, and a tone like they were rehearsing for a family therapy commercial. Natalie jumped in first. Said she'd brought her mom so we could all talk things through. Daisy looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. She clarified gently that she had told Natalie this was between us and didn't want to interfere. But here she was standing in my hallway, likely dragged into another last-ditch effort to reframe the damage. Natalie launched into her script. She claimed everything had been a misunderstanding, just pressure from her mom, just a poor choice of words. She looked at Daisy like she wanted her to back her up. But this time Daisy didn't. I asked Daisy plainly if she ever told Natalie not to date me. If she ever said Natalie should find someone more respectable. No, she said. I just told her she should be with someone who treats her well and has their life together. You've always done both. Natalie's expression shifted fast, first confusion, then panic, then that dawning realization that the story she'd been selling had just collapsed. Her whole excuse rested on the idea that her mom had made her feel judged. But now her mom was publicly, plainly cutting the rope. I asked Daisy again when Natalie said she'd never marry a mechanic. Did she agree? I was surprised, Daisy said. I didn't understand why she said that. I didn't share the opinion. I was just confused. And that was when the last thread snapped. I turned back to Natalie. You said what you said. Own it. Stop blaming everyone else. That moment changed the entire dynamic. Even Daisy saw it. She looked at her daughter with a mix of disappointment and something like recognition, like she was seeing her clearly for the first time. Natalie tried one last time. She said she'd do anything to fix it, that she made a mistake, but I didn't believe her. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had already heard her truth. And once you've heard the truth, no amount of backpedaling or tears can unsay it. You were honest, I told her, and I believe you. Eventually, they left. Natalie in tears, Daisy quiet like someone who had just watched the director's cut of a movie they thought they understood. The next day, Austin called me. That man rarely reached out unless it was about dinner or taxes, so I was surprised. He kept it simple. Said he didn't know all the details, but from what Daisy had shared, I'd handled the situation with more grace than most people would have. He said I was always welcome at their home, regardless of what happened with Natalie. He even asked if I might come to dinner that weekend. Said he'd have beer waiting. The man knew his audience. I said I'd think about it, and I did. Friday afternoon, I was back in the shop working with Jake and Raul on a 1959 Triumph Bonneville. We were mid-rebuild focused tools moving fast engine parts laid out with purpose. Then the bell rang. Jake peeked through the front window and muttered, "Boss, you're going to want to see this." There she was, Natalie. Hairstyled, makeup flawless, wrapped in a coat that probably cost more than my shop's monthly electric bill. And in her hand, a small velvet ring box. She walked in like this was the climax of a romantic drama, the part where the audience holds its breath. "I want to marry you," she said, voice trembling with urgency. Behind me, Jake and Raul froze like someone had paused the scene. Even the wrench in my hand felt heavier. I looked at her and exhaled. "You bought yourself a ring. I wanted to show you I'm serious." I nodded slowly. "No. What you wanted was to shock me into forgetting what you said." She insisted. Said she loved me. Said she made a mistake. Said everything except the one thing that mattered, that she'd meant what she said, when she didn't think I was listening. "Natalie," I said calmly, 2 weeks ago, you told your mom you'd never marry a mechanic. Today you're proposing to one. Which version is real?" "This one," she said. "The one standing here." I shook my head. "No. The real version is the one who spoke when she thought I wasn't around." She begged again, pleaded, but I didn't move. "The answer's no," I told her. "To all of it. We're done." She left still holding the ring box. Makeup smudged. Crying, like she was mourning the ending of a fairy tale that had never actually included me. Saturday, I stayed in the shop all day, hands and head focused on the Sportster. Clean parts, clean process, honest work. No guessing, no pretending. Machines don't lie. Sunday rolled around. And yeah, I went to dinner at Daisy and Austin's. Natalie wasn't there. Daisy had promised she wouldn't be. She wasn't trying to play matchmaker, just offering a seat at the table without tension. The food was good roast wine, even that quinoa side dish Daisy always made like it belonged in a health documentary. But more than that, it was the atmosphere. The awkward politeness was gone. So were the questions about business plans and career ambitions. It was just dinner. Quiet, normal, comfortable in a surprising way. As I was leaving, Daisy pulled me aside at the door. Her voice was low, steady. "I want you to know how much I respect the way you've handled all of this," she said. "You could have reacted with anger, but you didn't." I shrugged. "There's no point. Natalie showed me who she really was. I just believed her." She nodded. "Austin and I both think you're a good man, and you deserved better." It hit me harder than I expected. Not because I needed their validation, but because it was the final confirmation that walking away had been the right call. Even they could see it now. Then came Natalie's final act. She showed up one last time at the shop. But this time, she wasn't crying. She wasn't holding a ring box. She came with a business proposal. Said she wanted to invest in the shop. Help me grow, expand, build a brand. I stared at her, trying to figure out what she thought she was doing. "Why now?" I asked. "Because I believe in your work," she said. "I've done research. I know what you do takes real skill." I raised an eyebrow. "So you Googled what I've been showing you for over a year, and now suddenly you want to bankroll it." She said she was trying to make things right. that she understood now. But that's not how respect works. You can't purchase it after ignoring it for 15 months. You don't buy your way back into someone's world after treating their work like a temporary side quest. I told her no. Firm, final. And that was it. After that, the narrative started to unravel around her. She told friends I was being unforgiving, cold, dramatic. But Daisy and Austin didn't buy it. They'd heard the full story now, and they didn't let it slide. At one family event, Natalie tried to paint herself as the victim. But Daisy shut it down. Told the room exactly what had been said, and that I had every right to walk away. Austin backed her up. Called me a skilled craftsman and said Natalie never appreciated me. Word got around. Her image, the polished Golden Girl version, started to crack. Meanwhile, mine started improving. Austin referred 2 clients my way. People with vintage bikes and real appreciation for the craft. Guys who didn't care what college I went to or what my 5-year plan looked like. Even Natalie's offer to invest backfired. Once people found out she'd tried to buy her way back into the relationship after belittling my career, it made her look calculated. Desperate. And me, I was fine. Actually, I was better than fine. The shop had new projects lined up. A 1969 Triumph Bonneville among them, rough shape now. But I could already picture how she'd look once we brought her back to life. Purring like royalty. Best of all, I started seeing someone new. I met Ariana at a vintage bike show. She was standing next to a beautifully restored Honda CB550 chatting engines with old-timers like she was born holding a wrench. She's a nurse, rides her own bike, does her own maintenance. And when I told her what I did, she didn't nod politely. Her eyes lit up. "You own your own shop," she said. "What are you working on now?" No judgment. No hesitation. Just curiosity. Respect. Genuine interest in the work and the person behind it. We talked bikes for 2 hours before we even thought about dinner. That's what made the difference. No games. No pretending. Just 2 people who know what it means to build something that lasts. Last week, Natalie texted me again. "I heard you're dating someone new. I hope you're happy." No punctuation. That kind of open-ended message meant to invite a reply, but I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, just closure, because I am happy. Not with revenge. Not with validation. Just with the peace that comes from walking away the moment someone shows you they never really saw you clearly. Natalie didn't lose me because of a mistake. She lost me because she told the truth, and I believed her. I restore vintage motorcycles. For people who appreciate quality, not polish. Craftsmanship, not clout. That hasn't changed. But now finally, I'm with someone who gets it. And that makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.